It's been officially announced on September 26th, the Seattle Sounders will have its logo rebrand, and there's a lot to discuss about it. So in today's video, it's going to be more of a raw reaction. I'm not going to edit much of this or really any of this video. It's just going to be my take, and then we're going to read a couple of articles, kind of get some information about the rebrand. As for many fans, they didn't know this was actually coming, but it's kind of been something that's been common knowledge since I think around 2022. The Sounders kind of did small teasers here and there, as next season will be the club's 50th anniversary. So that's the reason behind the rebrand. And there's a lot of kind of nuances and things to discuss, because some people think it might be a complete overhaul with a logo change, complete logo change, name change, color scheme change, which from what I've seen is not the case. It's just going to be a tweak to the logo change, small changes. I don't know. It's just going to be a redesign of some sorts of the logo. You know, from what I've gathered, from what I've seen on social media, from the posts that I've made, where I will talk about and I will bring up, I did put up a open text box for everyone that follows us on Instagram. If you're not following us on Instagram, Twitter, and whatnot, our social media platforms, make sure you do so. They're always in the description. The links to all our social medias are always in the description. I asked you guys to give me your guys' thoughts as well to put into this video, so we'll add that at the end. So make sure to stay tuned to see what some of our fans think of what's going on with the logo rebrand change. But the Sounders made the post yesterday at the time of recording that we will be officially announcing the logo rebrand on September 26th for next season in 2024, as that will be the 50th anniversary. And I did do a short talking about this 6 months ago, as a few fans asked me, hey, can you maybe talk a little bit about the 50th anniversary, what's going to be coming from it and whatnot? And I did a little short talking about it, because next season, it's a big year for the Sounders. I mean, 50 years of the club ever existing. I mean, Jesus, that's almost twice my age right there. That the club has lasted twice as long as old as I am. So that, I think that's quite crazy. And what are my thoughts on the logo rebrand change? From what I've seen on social media from the fans, it seems like it's kind of like, I want to say maybe like a 75% of fans are not happy about it, while 25% of fans are happy about it. And that even includes just MLS fans. I'm talking every fan of not just the Sounders, but MLS fans. And I think it's more of the majority of fans that are actually okay with it are actually just Sounders fans. And I was a little bit surprised about it. And it seems more of the neutral fans are the ones that are like what the fuck? Like, they're like the ones that are like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of attitude. Because we've seen in the past few years in MLS, there's been a lot of rebrands. I mean, when you think of rebrands, I think MLS is probably the big winners in the world of soccer when it comes to rebrands with logos, from the league to the various clubs that have done it. And the more recent ones have been the Columbus Crew, CF Montreal, and the Chicago Fire. And all three of them, I feel like this is fairly unanimous, and fans of every fan base can agree on that I just mentioned. There was a lot of backlash, and it just completely was just the wrong move by the clubs, and fans were not happy about it. It just wasn't a good idea, and it was just all in all just an L situation for those three teams. Columbus going through two logo rebrand changes quickly from the initial one that they made, because fans were so upset about it. The Nordeca, their supporters group, was so mad about it. They changed that quickly. They were on that shit quick. And then in regards to Chicago, I mean, their logo, when they rebranded, it only lasted for 1 year. Again, same thing. Fans were completely not happy about the initial rebrand. And they changed it immediately. CF Montreal, I mean, they weren't happy about the name change. And for me personally, I love Montreal's original logo. And this includes even Chicago and Columbus. I love their original logos, and kind of sucked seeing it rebrand. I see what the image and what the idea is for MLS clubs to make it more European-esque, with the name changes, the logo changes. But for me personally, I think when it comes to MLS and the badges, like when you think Columbus Crew with like their OG logo, and with Chicago Fire with their OG logo, I mean, there's a lot of heritage behind those logos. And MLS doesn't have to be like the European leagues in regards to how it looks. It has to have an FC, it has to have an SC, it has to have a CF before the names or after the names. Why can't it be the quirky Americanized names that they are? Because this is MLS, Major League Soccer in the United States. It doesn't have to be like the European logos. It doesn't have to be clean and slick, have to have an FC, an SC, a CF. Like, I don't totally get that. And I know this is going a little bit off topic, because the Sounders won't be changing their name. I believe that is 100% confirmed. It's just going to be, from what I've seen in the rumor mill, a lot of people have been asking me, what does the new logo look like? I don't know what it looks like. I don't have any inside information on this topic as of now. Apparently, it's just going to be an upgrade, a small revamp of the current logo. Fredy Montero posted this photo on his Twitter, which is just a photo that is it's been already on the internet for a while. I don't know if it's any teaser or it means anything, but he did throw that up there as well. And when it comes to my opinions about the rebrand, I just don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's needed. I don't understand. Do we have to do this? I understand it's the 50th anniversary for the club, but can we not just maybe just celebrate the 50th anniversary? Do we have to change something? And I'm more in the boat of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think the Sounders logo is so unique. I love the Space Needle. I love the design. I know it's not an oval, it's not a circle, it's not a rectangle, it's not a square, but I know it's kind of a goofy shape, but that's kind of what I like about it. There's originality. I think I like the kind of the heritage behind it. I know the rebrand is supposed to pay homage to kind of our OG logos, which includes the Orca, which some fans are very excited about to have an Orca. And kind of my stance with the Orcas, I'm actually very indifferent. I don't mind if there is or isn't, but kind of where I'm leaning more towards, I'm more of a Space Needle. I'd rather have the Space Needle than the Orca, because I think the Orca just seems a little tacky. I know that was part of our OG logo, and it's arguably one of the most iconic sports logos in the history of sports in the United States, but it kind of suited that era of sports. I don't think having an Orca on a logo now in this state of football, soccer around the world, it's not gonna look too good. I think it's gonna look a little childish. I don't know, childish, a little playful. It's not, I don't know. I just don't think it would be a good look. I know some fans are totally for it, and I can see it. Like, I understand, like, an Orca would be kind of like, it's kind of badass to a certain degree to have, like, because it's completely different. Not many teams, I know many Serie A teams in Italy have, animals on their logos, and they actually put it in very well. So if the Sounders do something maybe like that, I could totally see it. But for me, I like the Space Needle. But some of you guys were commenting, saying some of the reasons why also part of the rebrand is happening with the logo, and why the Space Needle might be removed is because the contract for having the Space Needle on the logo is running out at the end of this season. I don't know if that's true. It could be false, but that's just something that I saw you guys were talking about as well. And that is due to the Space Needle asking for a lot more money for having the Space Needle on the logo. And if that is the case, just paid the money. I know the club has money. We all know that for a fact, even though they don't want to spend it on players, but the club has money. The Sounders have money. Pay whatever they want, because I think the Space Needle, dude, the way they implemented the Space Needle in the logo is just sensational. It is sensational. I cannot preach enough how much I like our current logo, and I think it's a big bummer that we're going to tweak it, and I'm going to try to have an open mind towards it, because I don't know what it's going to be like, but from what we've seen from previous teams in MLS, it just hasn't gone well. In my opinion, and I think in many just MLS outsider fans' perspectives, the Sounders have a top 3 logo hands down in this league. I think we have one of the best logos in the league, and it's almost become very internationally marketed. It's very globally known now, especially after our appearance in the Club World Cup. I mean, when people think about our original jerseys with Xbox on it, especially when you played FIFA, I mean, so many people would get the Sounders kits because we were sponsored by Xbox. And I mean, there's just a lot of brand recognition with the current logo. And part of me is maybe a little bit worried if we're going to change it. Again, it all depends on how much change we're going to make with the logo. How much of it are we going to be changing? Because from what I've seen in some articles, it's just minor changes. Some say it's just an upgrade. Some say it might be like a decent change. That's the part I just don't know about. That's the kind of the unknown. And I'm going to try to be open-minded, but kind of history and what I was kind of talking about with the brand recognition is kind of going against us actually doing this whole thing. And I understand it from all perspectives in regards to it might hurt brand recognition. It might be a good thing to revamp the logo. But one thing I will say is, fans that think us having a fresh look, having a restart, having something new because the team is getting dull, this doesn't change our performances on the field or us going to be playing any better with something new on our crest. That has honestly, actually, I don't think plays any part in us playing any better. And that's another part I want to talk about is, as I said, this has kind of been set in stone for a while. But from all the issues, it depends on how you view it. If you view it as an issue, don't view it as an issue. But the team has definitely been on a slump for 2 years. And in my opinion, this isn't one of the biggest issues the team should be tackling or worrying about, or even for fans to be worrying about right now. I think this should be the least of our worries. The logo change, this should not be shouldn't even be in like a top 10 problems for the team right now, because there's so much more stuff going on the field with players, with the general managers, with the directors, with the board, with how we want to spend money, with just so many other things. But a logo change is not one of them. And the thing is some fans are not happy with the team in regards to the performances in the past 2 years with missing the playoffs, the team being on a slump. I know currently, as of the time of recording, we're in third place, but the Western Conference is so tight right now. If we keep because the Sounders, I think, only have 4 wins in like 15 matches. I think something like that, or maybe it's like 16, 17. I don't know the exact stat because this isn't the topic of today's video. It's kind of not one of our top priorities to talk about or even discuss or to even worry about, in my opinion. And that's kind of the bummer, that if this does not hit, is not successful, it's gonna really, some fans are, as I said, are already kind of on the team's back a little bit in regards to what we've seen these past years. Lack of ambition with signings, not really making any changes on the field as many other teams are evolving, while we've kind of stuck with the same team pretty much for, I would say, for 3 years almost. And as I said, we're selling a lot of international spots, a few players, but not making any changes. Some of the tactics, the playing styles. I'm going to be honest, watching the Sounders, I actually did not watch the last 2 games, but people have messaged me, been talking to me about it. It's been very stale. And that's why I didn't really want to watch the last couple of games. I had things going on regardless. It was a little bit refreshing for me to maybe take a step back from not watching so many games, because I try to watch every single game and other MLS stuff just so I stay on top of what I'm talking about. The rebrand is just not going to change any of that. That's something that fans are not happy about as of now. And if the rebrand doesn't hit, it does not do well, the Sounders might be digging themselves even bigger holes. I know it has been confirmed. Taylor Graham has said that they have spoken to fans. Fans put their inputs in it. And that's something we heard from the previous rebrand logos with Columbus, Chicago, with Montreal. So hopefully this hits. And I don't think it's a fair case for the Sounders to be like, well, for these previous teams, it didn't work. Sounders have been successful to set themselves apart from other teams. So I will give them that. The benefit of the doubt, I'll give them that. The problem is it's very unfortunate. I think the timing is a little bit bad in regards to the team isn't the team of old. Let's say if this was after we won MLS Cup 2019, I think less fans would be upset or maybe not surprised, but would be less agitated by hearing the news that it's going to be happening this season. And I do think it was kind of a bad idea as well to announce the rebrand now. Obviously, it won't be implemented till last season. I just think it's a bad idea to do it now because of the really poor form the team has been on for the past 3 to 4 months, because the team has been on an absolute drop in form. And then to announce this, they're kind of like, well, are we going to address us not playing well in the field, our performances being bad, our tactics being stale? So that probably just doesn't help. Before we get into looking through the articles and reading through your guys' responses with the rebrand announcement coming very soon, I'm in the boat of Sounders. I think the logo is so good. I'm open to change, but if it's necessary, and I don't think it's necessary. I don't think the Sounders need a fresh look. I think the Sounders, especially with the Club World Cup appearance, being in the Club World Cup, being the only American team to be in the Club World Cup, that's a stat that's going to live on forever. And that's a stat I'm proud about. Granted, I do wish we didn't go out a little bit on a whimper in our first round, because I definitely think we could have advanced to play Real Madrid. I don't think we would have obviously be in Real Madrid, but I think that would have been another nuance of brand recognition to face off against Real Madrid in a competitive match. I think now we're very globally known. And I'm as a Sounders fan, I'm so proud to see that because I never thought I'd see the day. And to make the change, it could hurt it. And the history of the other teams doing it kind of work against the Sounders. I do think the timing's not good, and I just don't think it's necessary. I really just don't think it's necessary. In my opinion, I know some fans, maybe it's been 10, 15, 12, 13 years. We've had this logo since our introduction in 2009. Some fans are sick of it. I'm someone who's usually open to change, as we've seen many times on this channel with me, what I've said. But for me, this is the one spot that I'm a little worried about this change. And sometimes, hey, sometimes there's good change, sometimes there's bad change, and this could be a good change. We'll have to find out once it's officially announced. But as of now, I'm on the boat of I don't think it was needed. Who kind of asked for it? I think our logo is amazing. I think it embodies MLS. It's a unique logo, and there could be a lot of drawbacks, especially a lot of fans saying, "Oh, I don't want to see it like that generic design with the round logo design." They just don't want it to be like a template almost, and I totally see that because Sounders logo, especially for using it in Photoshop, it's kind of a goofy shape, so it's kind of always hard to configure compared to when I do like your bog standard Chicago Fire logo or Atlanta United. It's just round, it's just circle, pretty easy to work with. But Sounders, it's not a rectangle, it's not a square, it's kind of a little bit on the sphere side, but it's not even a sphere. It's just, I think it's just cool, man. I mean, I don't know. I think it's cool. I don't have a problem with it, and it kind of sucks because I'm gonna miss it. I'm most definitely gonna miss the OG logo because it's what I grew up with. Will we have an orca on it? I don't think that's the worst thing ever. I think if they implement it like many of the Serie A Italian teams do, that could be a smash hit. I think one of them is Roma. I think they have an animal on theirs, and I think it looks so, so cool. Like, that's a team that I think does a good job with it. I believe maybe it was Empoli that has one with like there's one team with a dolphin on theirs, and I think it looks super cool. Or is it maybe Sampdoria? I can't remember. But there's a team with a dolphin on it. And so if they implement it somewhat well like that, I think that could be pretty cool. But I am more of a Space Needle is clear of Orca. That's just my opinion. But again, I totally respect the Orca opinions as well. It won't there's gonna be no color change. That's been confirmed. From what I've seen, and there's going to be no name change. We're still going to be sticking with the same name from what I have seen. I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, from the reports that I've seen, it looks like we're going to be sticking with that. In regards to the articles, the one I'm going to be using is Footy Headlines. So from what we've seen on Footy Headlines, I'll do it a little bit bigger as well for you guys to see it. So here we go. So Footy Headlines, when I did my short, talking about it, this is where I got most of my information from. In 2024, the Seattle Sounders will celebrate their 50th anniversary, and the club have big plans for it. As I discussed, next season will be its 50th anniversary. The club has existed since 1974 and have kept kind of their same logo. There's kind of like the logos from years past. This is the Orca one that the fans are talking about that they really like, and obviously was a very iconic sports logo. And it kind of comes hand in hand, I forgot to mention, with our new training facility in what's it called? Long Acres. That's where it's going to be at. So it goes hand in hand. It's going to be a big revamp for the team. And then there's this quote about brand identity. Explore the club's brand identity within the next 50 years in mind. From our club's perspective, the next 50 years of Sounders history starts now, said Sounders FC owner and president of operations, Peter Tomozwa. I probably butchered that, and I apologize. Our new home at Long Acres gives us generational opportunity to not only invest in the organization by developing the most advanced facilities for our players and operations, but also to deepen our roots and engaging with community in a meaningful and new ways. I will say, to add on, I do think the training facility thing, let me change my screen back. I do think the training facility, adding one in Long Acres specific for just the Sounders, I think is a great move. Starfire is a great complex, but I think the Sounders have moved on from training at a general just soccer field area. But I do think it's cool because as someone that's been to Starfire, has gone there to, to get photos when I was younger, to get autographs from the players when I was younger. I do think it's cool that it's open to fans because I know I don't watch American football, but Seahawks, I know, have their own private training facility, and you can't obviously, unless it's like an open training day, like announced, you can't just go and like, meet the players, get autographs. It's a lot more tougher basically. So I'm curious how that's going to go, how the availability will be for fans. Cause definitely at Starfire, it's totally open to fans. The players are always happy to see fans whenever. And so let me then switch it to the article that was posted recently by Footy Headlines. The Sounders are set to unveil their new logo and brand evolution on September 26th, and this was the post that the Sounders made for it. Back in 2022, the Sounders made the announcement that they were going to be undergoing a brand evolution in preparation for the club's 50th anniversary in 2024. We've already yada talked about it. The process has involved extensive input from fans and the community. I'm not in the ECS or anything like that, so I don't know what the exact game plan is or how they surveyed fans or how they spoke to fans. Maybe I should have asked some fans if they were a part of it. But apparently they asked fans, they talked to the community, which is something we've heard from the other clubs that did the rebrands that I mentioned early on, Columbus, Chicago, Montreal, and with an emphasis on preserving the club's history and heritage dating back to 1974. Chief Revenue and Marketing Officer Taylor Graham, who I was talking about earlier, stated that they have heard from the community that the Sounders don't need a renovation, but should embrace their history fully. I really hope, in my opinion, it's not drastic changes. That's just how I view it. So that's what kind of the articles, that's kind of the only information we've been given that I've read from Footy Headlines. In regards to what fans said, I'm going to pull it up on my phone right here. So don't mind me while I'm looking down. I'm going to go through it one by one. I'm not going to mention any names, going to keep it private. I'm just going to read through the comments and what people have said. From the first one, hopefully it's good. It's a dated design with more clubs going with the European model, which I'm a fan of. See, that's kind of the thing. Some fans like it, some fans don't. I do like a lot of the European logos, but the reality is MLS is not like Europe. I know it's trying to modernize the league to a certain degree, but then when you look at like how we do the playoffs, which is an American style, especially with the complete change to the playoffs, making it completely more American, it was more European Champions League, European competition style with the 2 legs, away goals, which we used to have back in like 2014. That was very more European. So I don't know. There's just a lot of like inconsistencies with, oh, well, the logos and the team names are more European, but our playoffs and how we allocate trophies and who the actual champions are of the league is going to be more American. Like, I don't like that consistency. Either be on one side or the other. Don't be like a tweener. Don't be in between, because it seems like you're confused. You don't know what you want, how you want to execute it. And that's just how I view it. So I can understand the perspectives of it's more European. It's more European design. So, okay, Sounders logo's dated. Agree to disagree. Wish they did a fan vote or something beforehand, because I do not consent to this. I love how he says, I do not consent to this. As I just mentioned like 5 minutes ago, I don't know. As I was reading in the article, they asked fans, they asked the community. I just don't know how they did it. Obviously, Sounders fans do votes yearly on who should be the general manager. Should the current one stay? Do we need a new one? So I think that's cool. And I do think that could have maybe been something we could have done as well for the logo. Like, really simple. At one of the games or online, let us be able to vote. Do you want to see a logo rebrand? Do you want to see a name rebrand? Do you want a main color scheme rebrand? Let fans decide it. Do it just a general voting. It doesn't have to be people specifically in the ECS, but just general fans. Like, I'm not in the ECS. I'm not a big supporters group guy. I just like sitting, going to games casually with my friends, with my family, and just enjoying myself for the most part. Having some good seats, maybe getting myself, some little just, game snacks and just enjoying myself. And that's just me personally. Originality within the current crest is great, in my opinion. That's another thing I mentioned earlier on. There's a lot of originality. It's not very cookie cutter, is a good way to put it. Next one says, why fix what's not broken? Again, that's something I mentioned early on. Very bad. There's no point. Who asked for it? As I said, it seems like some fans it's just maybe the timing's kind of bad. Is it very necessary? It's kind of just the questions Sounders organization should maybe be looking at, should be maybe asking themselves. I mean, the badge is missing a orca, so it should be cool to see how they could fit one in. I definitely think if there's no orca a lot of fans will be more swaying towards the side of, was the rebrand necessary, or this was kind of a bad idea? I think it's an L, considering it looks just right to me. No need to change it. Okay, that's fair as well. Please let this not be like the recent rebands of Chicago, Columbus, and Montreal. That is kind of the big doom and gloom, kind of hovering over Sounders fans right now, is the whole previous recent rebrands of Chicago, Columbus, and Montreal, because that's kind of what scares us. Bad unless we can do better than the best. Yeah, so I do want to I do want to add a point of, if the Sounders it's pretty much Sounders fans. I think some of them do see it as, unless this is an absolute smash hit home run where like the logo is perfect, like it's saucy, it's raw sauce, no ketchup, you're gonna have to hit perfection for fans for the most part. That split, that 70% of fans that are 75% of fans that are not totally on board about this, to be on board if it's an absolute smash hit, or even just the general MLS fans viewing this. How about, while rebranding, reboot the team? As I said, I think the timing is kind of bad as well, because fans are not happy with the current state of the team in regards to performances, how dull we've playing. This is the last one, and kind of is the one that hits me the most. And I'm surprised with the amount of Portland Timbers fans we have that follow our page. As a Timbers fan, it kind of disappointed me too. I've despised that logo for years. So even a Timbers fan is saying that it kind of even is disappointing to them to see the Sounders to be rebranding their logo. I think that can even speak volumes. As I said, I think it's actually a lot more of like the neutral fans that are not very keen on it, more of the just MLS fans in general, because Sounders fans, obviously, we see it day in, day out. We're the ones who are more attached to it. And from what I've seen, I think actually more, maybe it's a bit split between the community. I still think it's slightly more towards they aren't fond of the change, but I think if you include the general just MLS fans when they chime in on this, I do think it bumps up that they're not a fan of the change. But does kind of speak volumes that outside fans are like, what are the Sounders doing? This might not be a good idea. I saw my friend Alex Calabrese, Danny T Radio, Anthony LaRosa, fellow content creators, social media people that I'm close with, that are just like, what? And this week in MLS as well, can't forget about Eli, the biggest guy when it comes to MLS content. Like, what are the Sounders doing? Why are you guys rebranding? This is like, it stunned them. And they're like, it's not necessary. It's a kind of a bad idea, because obviously they see it in the perspective of what's recently happened. And so I can't blame them entirely. But Sounders fans are a little bit more trustworthy of the organization, as they've been a success for the most part throughout their entirety of their MLS career. But regardless, everything we've read today, our opinions only matter so much. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below, because I haven't gotten your guys' thoughts on YouTube about it. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this logo rebrand. And if you guys want to check out my YouTube short where I did talk about this, make sure to go check out this next after you guys finished this video. And boys and girls, I hope you all have a lovely day.